Welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales, where we dive deep into the complexities of royalty, media, and modern monarchies. Today we're exploring King Charles and Queen Camilla's recent visit to Australia and the reaction that stirred both controversy and reflection. This isn't your usual royal tour coverage, though. In fact, the trip has exposed some glaring realities about the monarchy's relevance, particularly down under. King Charles's trip to Australia has been anything but a smooth sail. After a grueling long-haul flight, Charles appeared worn out, visibly showing the toll it's taken on his health. According to A.N. Wilson from the Daily Mail, Charles allegedly paused his cancer treatment to make this journey, accompanied by doctors and even a supply of his own blood in case of emergencies. If that doesn't scream dedication, what does? But let's not miss the undercurrent here. This tour has been filled with Republican protests, showing Australia's growing desire to break free from the crown. Charles, in all his well-meaning efforts, seems to be walking straight into a sea of indifference and even resentment. And then there's Anne Wilson's piece, wrapped in layers of condescension, colonialism, and thinly veiled racism. Wilson suggests that Charles should throw in the towel, step down as Australia's head of state, and force the Aussies to make a decision, either embrace him or cut ties. To him, Australia is some kind of woke utopia, a term that tells us more about Wilson's disdain for progress than anything about Australia itself. But Wilson's most offensive commentary was his claim that Australians are rootless, that they don't know who they are or where they come from. What he ignores is the very real cultural kinship Australians now feel with America and their desire for stronger ties with Asia and North America, not some outdated loyalty to the British monarchy. And let's be clear, this isn't just about King Charles and his health or even the royal tour. This is about how the monarchy is increasingly being viewed as irrelevant by a generation that sees the institution as a relic of colonialism. Australians aren't throwing temper tantrums over the monarchy leaving them. In fact, they might just welcome the idea. Wilson's portrayal of Australia as a cultural desert is not only absurd, but offensive. The reality is that Australia has spent years trying to rectify the wrongs of its colonial past, including the horrific treatment of Indigenous populations. It's ironic that the same monarchy that oversaw such atrocities is now being asked to reconcile those past wrongs while still clinging to its outmoded symbols of power. Charles's health is being used as a backdrop for this larger conversation, as though the king's personal struggle somehow absolves the monarchy from the critiques it faces. Wilson insinuates that stepping down would be an act of grace, yet the suggestion reads more like a British temper tantrum. You want to leave us? Fine, we'll leave you first. It's laughable, but it also underscores the fragile state of the monarchy's influence, especially in countries like Australia, where the desire for republicanism is louder than ever. The king's visit wasn't met with universal approval. There were protests. These protests were not just a few isolated incidents, but rather a significant expression of public sentiment. People from various walks of life gathered to voice their opinions. These protests were a clear sign, a sign that the winds of change are blowing stronger than ever before. The voices calling for a republic are growing louder and more persistent. Republican sentiment is growing in Australia. This sentiment is not confined to a particular age group or demographic. It spans across generations and communities. This desire for a republic is not new. It has deep roots in Australia's history, with many past movements and campaigns advocating for a break from the monarchy. It has been simmering for decades. The idea of a republic has been a topic of discussion and debate for a long time, with each generation adding its voice to the conversation. Now, it seems to be reaching a boiling point. The current political climate and social dynamics have brought this issue to the forefront, making it impossible to ignore. More and more Australians are questioning the relevance of the monarchy. They are engaging in public debates, forums and discussions, critically examining the role of the monarchy in modern Australia. They are asking if it's time for Australia to sever its ties with the Crown. This question is being asked not just in protests, but in homes, schools and workplaces across the nation. The protests, while peaceful, were impossible to ignore. They were a powerful display of democratic expression, showing that many Australians are passionate about this issue. They were a powerful reminder that Australia is a diverse nation, a nation that values its multicultural identity and the voices of all its citizens. It's a nation with a range of views. These views are being expressed more openly and freely than ever before, reflecting the country's commitment to democratic principles. Not all Australians feel a strong connection to the monarchy. For many, the monarchy feels distant and disconnected from their daily lives and aspirations. Some feel it's an outdated institution. They believe that the monarchy no longer aligns with the values and ideals of contemporary Australian society. They believe it no longer represents their values or aspirations. This belief is driving the push for a republic, as people seek a system of governance that reflects their identity and future goals. The Republican movement in Australia is gaining momentum. It's becoming a significant force in the political landscape, with more people joining the cause every day. It's driven by a desire for self-determination. Australians want to have a greater say in their own governance and future. Australians want to choose their own head of state. They want a leader who is directly accountable to them and who embodies their values and aspirations. They want someone who truly represents their values. Someone who understands the unique challenges and opportunities that Australia faces. They want someone who understands their unique place in the world. A leader who can represent Australia on the global stage with authenticity and pride. The protests during the King's visit were a wake-up call. They highlighted the growing discontent and the urgent need for a national conversation about Australia's future. They showed the world that Australia is changing, the country is evolving, and its people are ready to take control of their own destiny. The conversation about the Republic is no longer a fringe issue, it's a mainstream debate. It's being discussed in the media, in Parliament, and in communities across the country. And it's a debate that's only going to intensify in the years to come. As more Australians engage with the issue, the call for a republic will continue to grow, shaping the future of the nation. The King's visit also sparked debate about something else. It wasn't just about the pomp and ceremony or the historical significance of his presence. It was about a deeper, more contentious issue that has been simmering beneath the surface for years. This debate was about colonial legacies. These legacies are not just relics of the past. They are living, breathing issues that continue to affect the present. The monuments and historical sites are constant reminders of a time when Australia was under colonial rule. Some commentators made insensitive remarks. These remarks were not just offhand comments, they were deeply rooted in a lack of understanding and empathy. They revealed a mindset that many hoped had been left behind. These remarks revealed a lack of understanding. They showed that some people still do not grasp the full impact of colonialism on Indigenous Australians and the broader community. The pain and suffering caused by colonial rule are not just historical footnotes, they are lived experiences for many. They showed a disregard for Australia's complex history. This history is not just a series of dates and events. It is a tapestry of stories, cultures, and experiences that have shaped the nation. Ignoring this complexity is not just ignorant, it is harmful. And Wilson, for instance, displayed a colonial mindset. He made dismissive comments. These comments were not just offensive. They were a stark reminder of the attitudes that still persist in some quarters. He questioned Australia's right to independence. His words were hurtful. They were a slap in the face to those who have fought for and continue to fight for recognition and respect. They ignored the pain of the past. This pain is not just a distant memory, it is a present reality for many Indigenous Australians. The scars of colonialism are still visible, and the wounds are still raw. Wilson's comments are a stark reminder. They remind us that the fight for equality and recognition is far from over. They highlight the need for continued education and awareness. They remind us that colonial attitudes still exist. These attitudes are harmful. They perpetuate stereotypes. They create divisions where there should be unity. They undermine the progress that has been made. Australia has come a long way, but there is still much work to be done. The journey towards true reconciliation and understanding is ongoing. It's crucial to challenge these outdated views. We must not be complacent. We must actively work to dismantle these harmful attitudes and replace them with respect and understanding. We must promote respect and understanding. This is not just the responsibility of a few, it is a collective effort. It starts with education and continues with open dialogue and active listening. Australia has come a long way since its colonial past. It's a vibrant democracy. It is a nation that prides itself on its diversity and inclusivity. It has a strong sense of national identity. This identity is not just about the past, it is about the present and the future. It is about who we are and who we aspire to be. This identity is built on respect. It embraces diversity. It celebrates the rich tapestry of cultures that make up the nation. It celebrates its indigenous heritage. This heritage is not just a part of the past, it is a vital part of the present and the future. It is a source of strength and pride. Disparaging Australia's journey toward independence is unacceptable. It is a disservice to those who have fought for and continue to fight for recognition and respect. The King's visit should have been an opportunity for reconciliation. It should have been a chance to acknowledge the past and look towards a brighter future. It should have been a time for listening and understanding, a time to hear the voices of those who have been marginalised and to take meaningful steps towards healing. Instead, Wilson's comments reopened old wounds. They brought to the surface the pain and suffering that many had hoped to move past. They highlighted the need for greater sensitivity. Sensitivity is not just about being polite, it is about being aware and respectful of the experiences and histories of others. We must learn from the past. We must acknowledge the mistakes and injustices that have been committed and work towards making amends. We must work towards a future free from colonial baggage, a future where respect, understanding, and unity are the cornerstones of our national identity. In the end, this visit has highlighted a deeper truth. The monarchy is losing its grip, and the world is moving on. Maybe it's time the monarchy accepts that, but don't take Wilson's offensive diatribes as the voice of reason. Australians are smart, rooted in their own history and progress, and they deserve more than being written off by outdated monarchist thinking. That's it for today on Meghan and Harry Tales. We'll be back soon to uncover more royal realities and untold stories. Don't forget to subscribe and, as always, stay curious.